This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a solicitation for business. The views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not represent the official position of Title I. Now, let's get into the show.
In real estate, most agents don't lose clients to competitors. They lose them because they don't stay in touch. In this episode, we're discussing follow-up that feels like service, not sales.
And to educate us on this, we're joined by Merrilee Morgan with Summit Sotheby, International Realty in Salt Lake City.
Merrilee, what got you into real estate?
That is a great question. I was a stay-at-home mom. And that was the only vision I had ever created for myself, was to be an at-home mom. So when my kids were teenagers, my husband's industry payment structure changed. And he asked me to contribute to the family finances. It was a little bit challenging, and I was slightly hurt because I felt like he was asking me to do something that was not in my plan. But the reality of what he was asking me to do was not only contribute financially, but he was asking me to develop myself and to contribute on a different level in our relationship and in our marriage. And so as I explored all of my options and what I wanted to do, we had just purchased an investment property, and I found that I liked reading contracts as the buyer. And I thought, maybe I'll go into real estate. That sounds really interesting. And so I started going to real estate school, started working for a new construction company as a sales agent. And that's how I began my career 17 years ago.
I love it. That's a great story. And I do love your view on this is a personal development theme. And the fact that you love reading contracts, I think, is telling you that's a calling, because not everybody does.
Oh, I'm so glad that you said that real estate is a calling, because I was thinking about that this morning. Really, anyone that's in real estate is a people person.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to stay level-headed and remain neutral so often while people work through the challenges of a transaction. And it's not for everyone. It's not for the lighthearted, for sure.
Agreed.
So I really do think that real estate is a calling. And when we look at that way, we can be of greater service than having people be transactional. This is just a transaction I'm going through. Being good with people and having a desire to be of service to people is one thing. But if I don't have a system and a process to implement, it doesn't matter how great I am with people if I don't have clients. And when I first started in real estate, my husband said to me, I'm not going to fund your career. It has to be profitable. And I started out at a brokerage where there wasn't any training available. And then the Great Recession hit, and I had to scramble and find a different brokerage. And I landed somewhere that gave me powerful training, really, really good training. And I had a mentor in the business who sat me down at her desk, and she said, if you were going to have a wedding for one of your children, how many people would be on your guest list? And out of my mouth, I said 250. And she said, that's how many people you need to have in your database. That's how many people you need to be in contact with. And we now call that flow. You need to be in flow with 250 people in order for you to reach your financial goals. And we had talked about my financial goals as well. And that mentor changed my attitude about how I run my business and how I operate managing 250 people. Because my husband said, I'm not funding your business, you've got to figure out how to make it work. I created a spreadsheet. And in the spreadsheet, I put the contact's name, their spouse's name, their physical address, their telephone number, their email, and a birthday. And I started to develop my list, and I would keep track systematically of who I was calling. Well, or emailing, because texting wasn't really a big part of how we communicated 17 years ago. So having this, what I called my spreadsheet of my database, was really the beginning of a systematic approach to staying in contact with people. You have to say this. It is a skill, and it's a skill that one must develop. When you're a people person, data entry is painful. And CRMs come along and you have to figure out, how do I transfer everything on paper and put it into a database so that I can systematize my contacts with people? That was one of the hardest tasks I had to do. It took me 2 years to transfer it from paper to the CRM, because the activity of sitting down and doing the data entry was not in my skill set. And I had to set a timer. Okay, I will do this for 20 minutes today. And I would do maybe 1 or 2 names with the pertinent contact information. And I would follow up with a phone call, because these are the people I know. These are the people that are being invited to the wedding, right? And I would say, I'm creating this. Are you okay if I put your name on my VIP list and stay in contact with you? And of course, people are more than willing to be of service and help back and reciprocate. And that was the beginning of how I started my career. It took some time. It took some time to develop, but I did it. And to this day, it is how I manage my business, is working in my CRM or my database for 20 minutes a day. And I have a program that alerts me to who I need to be talking to next. And I don't advise anyone on what CRM or database or spreadsheet to use, because you need to find the one that works for you. Not the one that works for me, but the one that you'll use. And that, to me, is a really important part of tracking not only where you are in a transaction, but who are your people? Where are they? Something that happens that's quite magical in real estate as well is when you look at the people that are in your database and you think about them, you become aware of them. And if you're willing to take the risk and make the phone call, you find out they've been thinking of you, or they've got a child that is in need of real estate. And they always say, it's amazing to me how I was just thinking about you, or your timing is impeccable. When you're in flow with your 250 people or however many it is, you have an intuitive sense about them. And so it makes service really easy, because you're not just a salesperson and you don't feel icky about yourself. You're really implementing a system that helps to deepen and strengthen relationships. And you become aware of them when they have the need for your service.
So even when there's not a deal on the table, that's what good follow-up looks like. Is that what you're saying?
When there isn't a deal on the table, I mean, who in real estate is not chasing their next transaction? And that mentality has cost me years of productivity, because I would get a client, I would service that client's real estate needs. It would be over and I would be on the hunt for the next transaction, instead of slowing down and doing the work that I say is not sexy. It's really sexy showing houses. It's very fulfilling having the pleasurable experience of a client being happy with your service now they're in a house. The hard part is going back to that discipline that's not a natural skill set. Being able to take that content information of that client and add them to your database, going through the exercise of painfully adding who they are, who their partner is, the birth dates, the anniversary dates, the telephone numbers, the email addresses. If we did that 20 minutes a day, we wouldn't need to buy leads. We would be in contact or in flow with the people that we know who need our service.
What do you do to creatively reach out to those people?
Well, people want to do business with people that they know care about them. People don't want to be in transaction to you. They don't want to be sold. They want to be respected. And one of the techniques that I have learned through my career is the F.O.R.D system. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. I can call you and ask you, how's your family? You know I'm a real estate agent. We don't have to have that conversation of who do you have on the horizon that might need my help. You're responding to a question that I'm asking. You want to talk about your family all day long because you love them. You're proud of them.
Right.
And I want to hear how they're doing. I want to hear what goals they've accomplished. So there's always going to be a question when you ask people about them first.
Yes.
It's not asking who do you know that needs my business and my services, but tell me about you. My grandfather was a genius at interviewing people, and I watched him interview farmers in southern Utah. He would get in his pickup truck and he'd drive around and he smoked a pipe and he'd hang out the window and he would drive about 5 miles an hour and just talk to the farmers and find out, what are you doing? What's new? How's the wife? How are the kids? How's your crop? And as a kid watching a grandparent interview people, my grandpa knew things about people. And it would surprise you what he would find out about people because he had a trusting quality. But more importantly, he was genuinely concerned. So he always asked, and this is really what you ask is, how's your family? O is the occupation. How's work? How's your business? Are you being affected by not having snow? I certainly am. I'm seeing an increase in business because people are acting like it's spring buying season. So that's terrific. Creation. What are you doing on the weekend since there's no snow? Are you guys golfing? Out riding your bikes? Finding ways to connect with people is really what deepens relationships. And lastly, dreams. Dreaming for people is a way of them visualizing their lives and how you can be a part of it. And when you have those conversations, there's always something to talk about. And it's inevitable. Someone is going to say, how's the market? So you've got to have your 30-second spiel ready when you answer the question, how is the market? Because everybody wants to know how's real estate. And people always want to know, what's the value of my real estate?
Yeah.
Has my property increased? So there's lots of different ways to get people to talk about themselves and to deepen those relationships.
Okay, so you have mentioned to have your 30-second pitch ready. So what does that look like to you?
It's a snapshot of what's happening in the market in the moment. It's the 1st of February in Utah, and we have no snow. And typically our spring buying season begins when the daffodils bloom. And now we are seeing the daffodils beginning to bloom. So I would say to my 30-second pitch to someone is, what we're seeing because of the lack of snow, buyers are getting anxious. There's pent-up demand. And we are seeing buyers out on Saturdays, on sunny open houses, looking at properties and are getting ready to purchase. So we're seeing an early buying season.
Okay, so a follow-up to that would be, I love that, F.O.R.D, Ford.
Yes.
Uh,
And I'm
fantastic.
learning so much.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And those for your network that you know. Now, if you're broadening that network with people that you don't really know, that may not respond in a similar way to F.O.R.D because they're not opening up to you enough because they're brand new to you, how do you approach that? Is that a different approach, or do you approach it the same way?
It's hard for me to compartmentalize myself and act one way and be different in another. But what I have found in networking events, that is different, and it feels more like a hunt.
Yeah.
You're on the hunt of who can provide you with the service that you need or the client that you need. And so just being aware that the environment's a little bit different than your sphere of influence, the 250 people you know. I'm just using that number out of convenience for the conversation. But with networking events, I've kind of thought about the technique that the Japanese use when they hand a business card over. It is a very significant and profound experience in the Japanese culture to take a business card from someone. And when you think about a business card being a seed, and you are planting that seed in your database, you grow your database because you've made the effort to put the data from the business card into your database. Now, with that being said, I like to go to networking events, get business cards, and then take a note on the business card so that I'm triggered by a memory of what that person does, what makes them unique, what they were wearing, what their glasses looked like.
Yeah.
And then I make a phone call. This is Merrilee with Sotheby's International Realty. We met yesterday at such and such networking event. It was very nice to meet you. I'm adding you to my VIP list of vendors. Are you comfortable receiving email from me and periodic telephone calls? Yes, that'd be great. I'd love it. Wonderful. When someone that I know needs your product or service, I would love to send a referral your way so that business to business, it becomes more reciprocal. And I think there's an expectation in the business world that we are here to do business, and it's a reciprocal relationship that we're looking for here. But you've got to have a system with that too, and that might be slightly different than the people that you know that you're inviting to your wedding, okay? In business, what I have found is when I add them to my database, I make the phone call and I have their permission to market to them my services. I have a system that I follow where I add them to my database. I make a phone call and ask for their permission that it's okay that I've added them. Then for the next 8 weeks, I send them emails or something of value. And then after that, I back off. But I want to imprint who I am and what the service is that I offer. Here's an example of how this worked out. Just this week, I had a client. I was closing on a property. A client needed carpet. And I had met someone who sells flooring. And I called the flooring person and said, is it okay with you if I send your information to my client who needs flooring in his new house? And he said, yeah, you're that gal from Sotheby's. And so he remembered me. And I, of course, was so grateful that that connection had been established. He recognized me as a professional, that she's legit. She's here to help me grow my business. And the hope is that somewhere along the line, he will remember me the next time he comes across somebody that happens to mention somebody on his baseball team. Let's just say,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm thinking about selling. Oh, I've got this woman that can help you. And that to me is how we can grow our business when we network business to business. But the principle comes back to the same thing. What are you doing with that business card? You go to a convention with everybody that you know in your industry, and you come home with a stack of business cards, and you don't know what to do with your business cards. Pick up the telephone and have a conversation with the person whose business card you obtained. Ask for permission to put their contact information into your VIP list, and then figure out a way, like my database, for example. I could tag my database and I could say agent in Houston, agent in San Francisco, so that if someone I know needs an agent in one of those cities, I've got a contact and it's in my database and I can send that information to them. And I find it very helpful to make a phone call because that's another touch. Remember me? We met in Salt Lake City at this networking event. It was great to meet you. I know another agent that needs to place a referral. Be looking for so-and-so.
For newer agents who are just starting out, what happens long term when they consistently leave with service in their follow-up?
You're not spending your hard-earned dollars buying leads that may or may not turn into business for you. And I think agents have a tendency to chase the next lead, like we had talked about, the next transaction. And if we are not working in our database and we're not nurturing those seeds, those business cards we planted, then we get desperate and we start looking and spending money to get business. And when we're cultivating our business, the natural result is going to be fruit. It's going to be the result of our efforts to really deepen relationships. When I first started in my career, I bought leads, and I cannot think of one that turned into a transaction. I spent a year meeting people at property that I shouldn't have, and I put myself in dangerous situations at times. Now we've got better measures for that, but I would not spend money on leads anymore because it's not my business model. If I'm doing volume, it doesn't allow me to nurture the relationships in the capacity that I prefer. I want to do business with you, and I want to do business with your kids. And when you're ready to downsize, I want to do business with you. And when your kids are ready to upsize, I want to do business with them. So I think real estate can be a very generational career if you're willing to play the long game. But if you're here for transactions, by all means, buy leads. But when I was thinking about this morning, one of the objections that agents have is, I don't want to bug people. Well, you work 9 to 5, so to speak. If you were to call between 9 and 5, you would, on some level, be perceived as a professional. You're not bothering me 9 to 5. You're bothering me at 8 o'clock at night. So I expect you to call me from 9 to 5 because that means that you're working. It says, hey, she's working. She's a professional. This isn't just a hobby. This is a job.
Merrilee, thank you so much for being here and reminding us that the best follow-up isn't about pressure. It's about showing people that they matter.
So agents, it's not that complex. It's not like you have to go out and spend a lot of money. What you really have to do is be a people person. Be real. Love the people, they'll love you back, right? And most of all, pick up the phone. So, homes are selling every day. So remember, your next closing starts with just a simple conversation.